Okay, so this is the Chapter 6 quiz. And the first question refers to this exhibit and asks, the supply curve can be considered to be a... Everyone got marginal cost, I believe, right? Good. And why is that? Well, if you read the chapter, it should be obvious to you. In fact, the best explanation for this will have to wait for 2 chapters. And then I'm going to give you a very rigorous explanation. But they did just say in the chapter, it turns out the marginal cost curve, turns out the supply curve is a marginal cost curve. But, so just remember that. And then you'll see why that is in 2 chapters. 2, this should be an easy one. A transferable property right is one that A, can be sold or leased to someone else. You might quibble with the English here. You might say the property right enables someone to sell or lease something to someone else. But anyway, A is the best answer. Remember, with multiple choice questions, you need to pick the single best answer. In panel A, the maximum net benefit is shown. Which of these is true? Where the level of activity is at D. Is that true? So here, the level of activity is D. And that means this is the equilibrium. Can we do better? These are net benefits. As we saw in the last video, we can divide net benefits into 2 areas, consumer surplus and producer surplus. But would it be possible to get more net benefits by a different quantity? What about quantity E? There, net benefits are only this amount. So no, at E, net benefits are smaller. What about a larger quantity like J? Well, there, we have to subtract, we have these net benefits, but then we have to subtract from that this here, because this is a negative. Here you have benefits lower than the cost, right? From going from D to J, your costs increase a lot by this amount here. But your benefits only increase by the smaller amount here. So in other words, the costs are bigger than the benefits. And so, to make a long story short, A is true, where the level of activity is at D. But we can't move on just yet, because all of the above is also an option. So let us check now question 2. The maximum net benefit is shown by the intersection of marginal benefit and marginal cost. That means right here, right? This is the intersection of marginal benefit and marginal cost. That happens to be at a level of activity of D. So that's also true. So both A and B are true. Therefore, hopefully C is also true. Otherwise, you can't be all of the above. But let's just check it. By the triangle ABC, the triangle ABC is this here. And we already said, so it goes like this. Why is it ABC? It's A to B, C. And then you have to just remember to go back to A. So this is the whole area of net benefits. And so all of the above is the right answer. Question 4. This is an easy one. It actually is not even really about concepts from this chapter. It's a simple question about equilibrium price. Well, supply and demand intersect here, then we know that this will be the equilibrium price. This will be the equilibrium quantity. So the equilibrium price will be OB, and the equilibrium quantity will be OE. So this OB means this distance. And OE means this distance. You know, myself, I would just say B and E. But, you know, they have a little bit different notation, but that's all it is notation. Question 5. Activities that generate external costs will likely be carried out at levels that blank those that would be efficient. If they have external costs, that means, well, the example I used was you're driving down the road and there's pollution coming out of your car. So do you think then from a social perspective, people drive too much or too little? You know, what we're thinking about here is a society that doesn't tax pollution and so on. And so in that case, there will be too much. And so the answer is C, exceed. There is a difficulty in economics of being comfortable with the implicit assumptions. And so one of the implicit assumptions, that means assumptions that's not made clear in the problem, is that we're in a free market. And so if we're in a free market and there are external costs associated with the consumption of some good, then that good will be consumed at too high a level, because the consumers won't take into account the costs they impose on others. Question 6, an inefficient allocation of resources will occur when? The answer is D. Decision makers are not faced with the benefits and costs of their choices. And so, in fact, this is related to question 5. Because here, with external costs, the decision makers are not faced with the costs of their choices. And the same thing you might say with the free riders. You know, they may not be faced with the benefits that they're contributing to the good would yield to others. Question 7. There are a couple ways that you might try to answer this, but only one of the ways will give you the right answer. And that is to draw the demand curve and then calculate consumer surplus using the method I showed you in a previous lecture. So here we'll draw the demand curve. Really, you just need to find the two endpoints, because as you can see, this is a straight line demand curve. 20 and 0 and 10 and 5. So let's look at 20 and 10. So 20 and 0 will be this point here. And then 10 and 5 will be this point here. So here's our demand curve. Now we're told that the price is $12. And how many golf balls are purchased? 4 dozen. So the question really is, what is this triangle? What is the area of this triangle? So remember, this is consumer surplus. And consumer surplus is the area below the demand curve and above the price. And so what is it? Well, what's the formula for the area of a triangle? Area of triangle equals 1/2 times base times height. And that equals here 1/2 times, what's the base? 4. And what's the height? 8. So that equals 16. So the answer is D. In fact, what I meant to say earlier was there's a couple ways you could try to answer this question. Only one of them will give you one of these answers. And so the other way that you might have tried is to say, well, this person's willing to pay 18. One additional person's willing to pay 16. This person's willing to pay 14. This person's willing to pay 12. And so you might add all these together, and you find that it's this would be 30 plus 30 is 60, minus the total expenditure, which is 12 times 4, or 48, or 12. But 12 is not an option. So then the other way is to draw the demand curve. And that's the one that gives you the answer that we just saw, which is correct. Okay, question 8 is also an easy one. So you have an income of $5. The price of popcorn is 50 cents, and the price of peanuts is 25 cents. So you've purchased 6 boxes of popcorn. 6 times 50 cents equals $3. So how much of your income do you have left? 5 minus 3 equals $2 left. And so given that peanuts are 25 cents each and you have $2 left, that's 2 divided by 0.25. You can buy 8 bags of peanuts. Question 9. Common property resources tend to be overconsumed. Why? Because of the tragedy of the commons. So, because, in other words, they're non-excludable, but they're rival. People are going to use it because they can't be prevented from using it, and when they use it, it makes it difficult for other people to use it because they're rival, right, by definition. Whereas public goods, if you use it, it doesn't matter because there's plenty left for everyone else. Here it's rival. So that's the problem. It tends to be overconsumed. Another possible answer here, which is not given, but you might also say underprovided. Because just like public goods, common pool resources are non-excludable. So there's a free rider problem associated with providing them in the first place. But that was not an option here. Okay, last question. If pizzas are $4 each, your consumer surplus is? So again, it's the area, consumer surplus, the area below the demand and above the price. And so we're saying the price is $4. And so what is the area of this triangle? 1/2 base times height. So it's 1/2 times base times height. So this is the consumer surplus. 1/2 1/2 times base times height. The base is 6, and the height is also 6. So this is 1/2 of 36, or 18. And so the answer is D, 18.